We first want to thank you so much. Members here at Fairfield Church of Christ, we want to thank you so much for being here. This has been an event that we have been planning and praying for the last several weeks. And it's turned out just in a very tremendous way. Before Clay comes up here, we're going to show this video. It's about a 9-minute clip. We showed it just a minute ago. A lot of folks were coming in and hard to hear. It's not the best sound quality in the world, but we're going to roll this video again. And we're going to give him time to do what he needs to do. And so at the end of this video, I'll have a few things to say, and then Clay will speak. So again, we're glad you're here, and I want you to make yourself at home. It's going to be a wonderful night. And again, we're going to roll that clip there, and if you can here in just a second, that same video that you wrote just a minute ago.
It would be nice to be warned about this stuff. All right, sound.
Earlier this year, we told you the story of Eddie Camara, who was paralyzed from the waist down, and how he continues to pursue his love of bass fishing. His story illustrates that no matter what we perceive as a handicap, in most cases, it can be overcome. Clay Dyer is another angler who has had to overcome great odds just to do what he loves to do. In the heat of an Alabama morning, a line is cast from a fishing rod. A line that drops into the waters of Lake Huntersville again and again.
I love fishing. I start smiling and laughing. I think, all you people that said I was crazy and stuff, and I think it was kind of happy. I'm doing something I love to do. I'm living a dream.
27-year-old Clay Dyer is a professional bass fisherman. He's never won a major bass fishing title, and in 2 years on the FLW circuit, he has yet to make the second-day cut. Yet Clay might be the most admired man in fishing.
I've never met anybody that had as sharp a mind as he has, or that has the heart and the love and the passion for fishing that Clay has.
So go ahead. Take a good long look at him. He's used to it by now. For reasons that doctors still don't understand, Clay Dyer was born with neither a left leg nor a right leg, without a left arm, and with only a small appendage on his right shoulder. How was it like you that first time you looked at him?
Well, I think they caught me before I hit the floor. Almost passed out.
What was Clay's birth like for you? How so?
I guess I didn't know what life would be like for him.
But nothing could hold back the exuberant Clay, who learned to do everything from throwing a frisbee to swinging a baseball bat, even playing basketball with his older brother.
From the get-go, he was his own person. He didn't need any motivation. He always figured out a way to succeed.
When kids ask you when you were young about your condition?
Same things ask me now. How'd you get like that? How'd you lose your arms and legs? Most of them come up and say, hey, you ain't got any arms and legs. And I'm like, no, really?
He was still just a boy of 9 when he spent 20 minutes landing this 26-pound catfish. Fishing became Clay's passion, and he was determined to do it just like any other angler.
Why didn't you want to use special equipment? Because I never wanted anybody to treat me special. I never treated myself special. I wanted to do everything in life everybody else does and do it the way they do it. I wanted to do it with one hand the way they do it with two.
When he goes fishing, Clay casts by tucking the rod underneath his jaw and whipping the rod around with a quick left to right twist. Then, placing the rod under his chin like a concert violinist, he reels in his catch.
his teeth to unhook fish and change lures. And ties knots with his tongue.
We've seen people tie a cherry stem with a tongue before. If he'll lay the bait on his arm, thread the line through the eye, and ties it with his mouth, and then he'll put it down tight with his arm. And there you go.
But during practice and competition, it gets hot on the lake, and his body's small size makes it impossible for Clay to sweat enough to stay cool. So when he overheats, Clay must take a quick swim. And with a little help, he gets back in the boat. After more than a decade as a pro, Clay's still climbing the bass fishing ranks.
He fishes at the level just below the top pro tours in the country. I mean, that's just amazing that a kid with that many limitations can play at that high of a level.
It's a mid-June dawn as Clay prepares himself for day one of this FLW season's final tournament in Lynette, Alabama. The two-man boats roar across the fog-shrouded lake, and the competition is on.
All right, time to go get ugly.
After the end of day one, Clay is in position to make the first cut of his career on the FLW circuit.
Here comes Clay Dyer from Hamilton, Alabama. Clay cooks his fish everywhere we go. Good to see you, Clay.
Don't start lying like
He said, don't start.
How will you feel if you make it? It'll be the biggest sense of accomplishment without one. You know, it's just like those obstacles. Those obstacles, yes, that I have accomplished. I mean, I'm going to. I hope. I've been playing with pressure on.
But on his third cast of day two, Clay sees his line snarl on a tree branch, and he loses precious casting time trying to free it. Moments later, Clay just misses landing a big one.
Come here, baby.
In a full day's work on the lake, Clay can only catch a single fish.
Oh, boy.
One fish on day two worth 1 pound even. Clay Dyer. Great job to you, Clay.
It's not enough. Clay has missed the cut. Again.
When it doesn't make it, I mean, your heart goes out to it because you'd like to see it do it sometime. One time.
What will it be like for you when he does make the cut? It's been really exciting. Oh.
And it'll happen. Well, Clay will make the cut one day in one of these pro tournaments, and that'll be, I mean, he'll just bring the house down.
And so Clay returns to Lake Guntersville and casts his line. Every cast dropping into the water with the hope that this time a fish will bite. And why not? The power of Clay's hope can already be seen on the faces of those who love him best.
What do you wish you could give him?
The obvious answer would maybe be, a set of arms and legs. He doesn't want. That's probably the last.
He talks about having a heart, soul, and mind. That's all we need. He says it's everything he needs.
I know somebody's watching, especially when I'm doing something, using, teach myself or just doing something, whatever it may be. I try to do it in a way somebody says, I want what that guy's got. I want them to be able to just look at me and say, hey, he's determined, he's a winner.
Once again, we want to tell you how much we appreciate you being here. I know a lot of you have come from several miles to be at this event tonight. And a lot of you rescheduled, some churches rescheduled some of their events just so that you could be here tonight. And I want to thank our eldership for allowing us to have this event. And I certainly want to thank Clay and his family, and his dad, Clarence, and his manager, J.D., and other folks for coming and being with us tonight. Clay Dyer was born on May 23rd, 1978 in Hamilton, Alabama, to Clarence and Beverly Dyer. Some Alabama fans here. There's a few fans. Clay began fishing at age 5 and competing in fishing tournaments at age 15. He became a professional angler in 1995 and has fished many events on the FLW Tour. And just last week he fished in a BASS event in Florida. Said he got a hold of some big fish, but they got broke off. He's fished in more than 200 bass tournaments and has won at least 25 state bass tournaments. Clay spends the majority of his time traveling the country, sharing his life experiences through motivational and leadership presentations to companies, charities, and churches. He is also a volunteer athletic football coach at Hamilton High School in Alabama. His television appearances include ESPN, Fox, CNN Headline News, Versus, the Outdoor Channel, Fox Sports South, the 700 Club, and CBS. There have been published articles about Clay in USA Today, Newsweek, Bassmaster, FLW Outdoors Magazine, Sports Spectrum Magazine, and many more. Clay is the national spokesperson for CAST, C-A-S-T for Kids, a national charity dedicated to providing quality outdoor experiences to disabled and disadvantaged children. And he is a fishing guide for disabled and terminally ill children through the United States Sportsman Alliance. Clay has a biography, and he has some of those here tonight to sell, by the way. We'll tell you more about that later. Entitled The View from Down Here is Just Fine, written by Scott Laney. And Dyer is also the subject of at least some chapters in 3 other books: Living Life in the Zone, Performance Intelligence at Work, and Dance Until It Rains. As you saw earlier, Clay's motto is, if I can, you can. And I think that's right. Dave Washburn, who is FLW Outdoor Magazine Vice President of Communications, says this: without question, Clay is the most amazing person that I've ever had the pleasure to meet. From his enthusiastic attitude to his incredible talent with the rod and reel, he is an inspiration to everyone around him. His accomplishments in the sport of professional fishing and in life are, in my opinion, without equal. A fellow named Kevin Van Dam, some of you might know who he is, said that like everyone he meets, Clay has made an indelible mark on my life. His focus on what he has and not what he lacks is a lesson for all ages. I have witnessed Clay in various settings and enjoyed just looking around at the inspiration that people get from him. Above all, I will forever cherish the times we have spent together on the water. Clay Dyer is awesome. And from a guy you guys might know, George W. Bush. He said, Clay's spirit in the face of adversity has inspired millions around our nation, including me. Well, without further ado, Mr. Clay Dyer.
Thank y'all. Man, what a crowd. I've been doing this for 15 years now, and y'all don't realize this, but y'all just made history tonight. It's the first time in 15 years we've had so many people in the place I've been. We've had around the walls and floors. He's got an overflow room, hey, it's all good. What can I say? God's awesome. I've got a rod and reel somewhere, but my dad's okay. I'll get him on it real quick. How's everybody doing tonight? Good deal. Y'all ready to have a little fun? I'm going to tell y'all kids sitting up on the floor, y'all brave. Those people sitting on the front row, y'all are really brave. If y'all were how y'all, and I saw a man with no hands with a rod and reel with bait on it, y'all be on tonight. I want to say a special thank you to all you ladies and gentlemen, the boys and girls that come out tonight. I know y'all got a lot of places y'all can be and other things you can be doing. And y'all chose to come tonight, listen and share, and that means a lot to me. I've got a lot of ties in this area. I want to say a special thank you to Brother Devin and Vickard in this church. They have been just outstanding in working with me with scheduling tonight's event. I know when we first started talking to them, it's a long story that I really won't get into. It's kind of funny. When we first started talking to them, I knew I wanted to come up here, like I want to go everywhere. And we tried to do, I've got a wonderful business manager, J.D. Blackman. He's here. He's actually from Nashville. And he's here with me tonight. And J.D. does a fantastic job of keeping me on track. Because I can't keep me on track. And J.D. and I were working with Devin trying to schedule this thing. And we were trying to figure out a date that would work. And whenever we first set it up, we were setting it up, it'd be during my practice when I was in Florida. So I called up here and we were waiting to find out if I was getting accepted into Fishing BASS, and Lord, behold, thank the Lord, I did. And whenever I got accepted into BASS and then we knew I was in the tournament, we called up here and we explained to them it was during official practice, and they were like, hey, no problem. We'll schedule as soon as you get done with the tournament, then come up. So I was at the tournament last week, actually 2 weeks ago. I was home last week for the first time. So if any of you wonder what these coon eyes are for up here, it's because I was in Florida getting suntan. And I got home and everybody's like, man, half your face is white and half of it's like brownie, like a gingerbread man. I said, what's going on with that? And y'all ever seen them little things that they call buffs that you like pull them up over your head and they look like a hood, but they like cover your ears and all this stuff to keep the sun off of you? Well, after going to a dermatologist last year and at 33 years old, realized I had 2 skin cancers that were premature cancers, but they cut them out of me just to be on the safe side, and thank God I was cancer-free. But they cut those out of me, and I think I got them back when I was in my teenage days, you know, when I was trying to impress the ladies, we'll say that. And I was working on the tan, and I worked on my tan a little too much, and got burned too much. So now, you know, here I am at 34, covering everything up, and for most guys out there trying to get your tan on, you know, I'm out there trying to be as white as my shirt is, and that's white. But, so if you see the tan line, don't think nothing of it. It's called a country boy fishing tan, that's all it's called. But I want to say a special thank you once again for everybody coming up here. As I said, this is a lot like being at home for me. I live about 3 hours away in Alabama, down in a little town called Hamilton, about 6,000 people. As you saw in the video and everything, that's where I've lived my whole life. And there's so many things that have changed since that video came out. That video was actually done, I want to say about 8 years ago now, 7 or 8 years ago. And so many things have changed. God has blessed my life so much, and I've had so many opportunities from the time that video was released till now. I know in the video it was talking about that I was, you know, I fished at this level, just under the top level in the country. That's no longer the case. For the last 6 years now, since that video's been out, I've been competing at the top level against the best guys in the world. And it's a big jump for me. Thank you. I'll tell you a quick little story about that video. When they called me, when ESPN actually called me, you know, it's not every day that a boy from Hamilton, Alabama, that's 20, whatever I was back then, years old, calls you, you know, at your home in Hamilton, Alabama. It just don't happen. Well, I'm sitting there, at the time, the girl I was dating at the time, she was sitting there in the house, and while I was working that day, I was working in my office in my house, and the phone rang. So I looked at it, and I see it said ESPN. I just kind of put it down on the couch. And she said, that says ESPN, why don't you answer? I said, I ain't answering that. I said, that ain't ESPN, that's on telemarketer calling me. And she finally picked up the phone, and she says, hello, and I hear him say, yes, he's right here. I'm looking at her like, oh. So I well, she had the phone to me anyway, and I picked the phone, and I was a little bit short. I was like, hello. They were like, just play Dyer. I said, yes, it is. They were like, this is Andy Tennant for ESPN, Bristol, Connecticut. And Lord forgive me, I shouldn't have said it. If I said, yeah, I'm president of the United States. Click. That's what I did. I hung up on ESPN. Well, a few minutes later, the phone rings again. They called back. I answered this time, and I said, what do you want? I said, I'm trying to work. I ain't interested. They said, this is ESPN. We want to do a feature on you. And I said, look, I ain't playing no games. I said, I ain't got time for this. I said, I'm busy doing work. I said, can y'all prove to me y'all are ESPN? The guy says, call this number back. I hung up the phone, I called back, ESPN Studio, Bristol, Connecticut, man, help me. I'm already 3 foot, I felt like I was about 3 inches tall. Needless to say, I get on the phone, and 7 months later, we're filming, and it was just incredible. But whenever I hung up the phone, I never forget the girl I was dating, she looked at me and she said, I told you. Yeah, you did. What I did, yeah, you did. But in that video, so many things, like I said, have changed. And one of the things in that video that every time I see it, nobody else really knows it because they just don't know me that well. Most people don't know me anyway. But there's one thing in that video that really just kind of chaps me, and it's nothing bad. But in that video, when they're showing me jumping in the lake, and they were talking about that I have to jump in the water to cool off, forget it. I don't have to jump in the water. I'm like anybody else. I chug Gatorade and water, wipe the sweat, and keep on rolling. You know, I love to get in and swim. I swim like a fish. I love to jump in the lake. I don't jump in the national tournament because I'm too busy trying to catch one and win some money. But when I'm out there playing around, I like to get in. And whenever they heard I could swim, the camera guy was like, "Can you dive in?" And I'm like, "Yeah." You know, what's the point? But I can. So I dive in. Well, I swim to the back of the boat. There goes the arm. I jump out. I get up on the front. He says, "Can you do that again?" And I was like, "Yeah." I step on the front, I dive in again. About the 15th time in a row I did that, you know, when they're telling me to redo it, I'm like, okay, what about the belly flop I just did not look as good as the one before? I know I look like a whale going in there, but you know, I thought I just what it is, alright? Ain't like I got dive board jump off of. But anyway, that part, you know, is sometimes I wish that part wasn't in there, but hey, it's all good, we make it past it. But I'm very fortunate blessed. I have my grandfather Horace and his family here tonight. Papa, I love you. And I mean, it's the world to me. I said I wasn't going to cry. I did anyway. Oh, me. I've had tears, I tell you that. I've been so blessed to have so many great family up here tonight. That's why I said it's kind of like coming home. But as I was telling somebody a while back, when you do what I do, you travel the amount of miles I travel a year, anywhere less than about 8 hours from home is like running to the store. You know, I go about 50 or 60,000 miles a year, but coming up here, there's a lot of family here, and I couldn't wait to get here. And Uncle Billy Ray and Polly, they're somewhere here in the crowd. I have no clue where they're at, but, right in front of me. No wonder I couldn't find them. He's sitting over here in the corner somewhere, I'd found you. That's why I didn't find him. He claims he taught me everything he knew about fishing, which he did. It just wasn't very much. I love you, Uncle Bill. He still loves me. I brought him about $100 for strike team stuff down the way up there. He loves me. I bought him something. He's getting some of his Tennessee smallmouth on. I know a lot of people wonder how in the world I do what I do and how in the world I cast and all that stuff. I'm fixing to show you a little bit about my casting, and we're going to get into some other stuff. First of all, is anybody in here on the edges over here that want to volunteer to help out for me? Raise your hand. Young man right there on the first row, you're the first hand I saw come up. All right, you back up over there a little bit. Right there you go. All right, face me. There you go. Now put your right arm straight out, just like this right here. There you go. You might want to slide over just a little bit. You know what just a little bit is for me when I'm pointing? I'm glad you do it, not all. First thing I see over here is a Tennessee Volunteer slip shirt. Are you a big Tennessee fan? I want to see what you said. Well, I'll say this. You know, Tennessee's ice, we beat y'all, roll tide. Y'all like y'all really excited about this part. I just got this rod reel last week. My sponsor sent it to me while I was in Florida. I know you can see it just about as bright white as my suntan line is. If I fall on y'all, you'll laugh, okay? Alright, you hold your left arm straight outside. That's my family member sitting beside you, so behind you, so if I hit her, it ain't gonna fall. I'm gonna try to take this jig and last all your arm with it, okay? I got off quiet. Brother Devin, if I put the light or speaker out, I'm sorry. Ah! All these fish I got up here, you think one of them fight. I don't get backlash. Plus pros ain't supposed to get backlash. But I did. Time out. Sorry about that. I'm in tournament mode, y'all gotta forgive me. Don't know what tournament mode is? That's going as fast as you possibly go. If you mess up, it's usually bad. If y'all pull on that, I'll set the hook. What's your name, bud? Zach? Man, you brave in the people, brother. Good job. Go get Zach ahead. All right, buddy, you ready? Your shirt says warning. Skill or stupidity required. You wore that shirt just for me tonight, didn't you? You ready, brother? Start tearing all you kids looking at the tournament because they'll make great trees, like, you know, for casting action. If I come around y'all and I hit y'all, it's good. They ain't fishing factory back here today. They're all just trying to catch it. Oh, man. Now, I'll tell you, I've been so incredibly blessed in my life through so many things, and, you know, I knew tonight when y'all were getting ready and getting ready for this event, looking forward to it. You know, I apologize for the fact that, how many football fans are in here tonight? Raise your hand. All right, how many of you like the New York Giants? How many of you like the New England Patriots? About half and half. Well, I apologize, because I know that y'all were looking for like Eli Manning or Tom Brady to be up here speaking to you tonight. I'm sorry, I don't have their money, but they can't touch me and look, so you know. You know, I've been so incredibly blessed in my career, my life, and doing all the things I've done, and having a family that I've had, and you know, I've done a lot of things that a lot of people wouldn't ever thought I could have done. When I was growing up, I was blessed to be around a lot of kids that didn't ever look at me in a way of, you know, hey, Clay, you don't have any legs or arms, we don't want you around us. And all my friends, from the time I was a baby, from the time, you know, till now, they all want to be around me, they all want to associate with me, and even when I was a child, they wanted me to be on their team. You know, they never looked at me different just because I was missing a few extremities. And I was so blessed by that. And I can remember growing up when I started fishing. I started fishing just like a lot of kids in farm ponds, creeks, you name it. If it had water in it, I thought it had fish in it, I would stop and throw it. That's just the way I was. And I remember I had a little summertime job with my grandfather down in Hamilton. He used to have a catfish farm. It was kind of like a second side job. And I'd go out there and help him on catfish farms in the summertime. And that was supposed to be my college money that I was saving. Well, it worked well when I started fishing, and then I kind of spent it on fishing, but anyway, that's beside the point. But I can remember when I was starting out catfishing, like every other kid that I've ever seen, I started out with Zepco 33. How many of you have ever fished with Zepco 33? Raise your hand. If you ain't fished with Zepco 33, you just ain't fishing. Okay? I started out with Zepco 33 myself, and then I went to these sophisticated rod drills that like to backlash with you all the time. And if you ever see a pro that says he does backlashing, go ahead and tell you he's lying to you, because we all backlash. It don't matter who we all backlash. But I remember when I started bass fishing when I was about 10 years old, I was coming home and I was watching these fishing shows on TV and stuff, and I thought, wow, you know, I love being a professional bass fisher. I was like a lot of kids. I dreamed of playing, you know, professional sports. I wanted to be a professional athlete, like a lot of kids dream of being. When I looked at it, did I realistically think that I was going to play in the NFL? Probably not. Did it bother me? Not one bit. You know, I played football growing up. Did I think I could get drafted to the NBA and play with LeBron James? Nope. Can I dunk it? You dang right. You can jump trampoline, jump off a whole lot of slam. I may not be 6 foot 8, 240 pounds, but I get it done. But you know, one thing is, when I was growing up, I was watching all these fishing shows. I started seeing all these rod reels, and I thought, you know, Zepco 33 isn't good enough for me anymore. I need these rod reels. And I started going to buy some of these sophisticated bait casters at Backlash, and I started trying to get into bass fishing. Well, I got into it for a while. I started buying up some lures and stuff, stuff, but it was back before the days I was blessed to have the great sponsors I have today. And in buying all these, my family was the one to buy them for me. My mom and dad. Well, I had probably about 6 or 8 of these rods and reels at home. And I'd go and use when I'd go fishing. And I never will forget, it was about 2 weeks before my 14th birthday. I was sitting at home one night and I had a Bass Pro Shop catalog. How many of y'all have ever been to Bass Pro Shop? That place is like heaven to me. I mean, it's the closest thing to heaven without getting to heaven, I think, other than being in the first place in the weigh-in stage, okay? But I'm sitting there looking at the Bass Pro Shop catalog, and I've got like 3 important books in my life, okay? Number 1 is the Holy Bible. Number 2 is The View from Down Here to Just Fine. Yeah, that's my book. And number 3 is the Bass Pro Shop. Well, I see this rod and reel at Bass Pro Shop, about $300, and I'm thinking, I want this rod new. It'd be a great birthday present. I want this rod. I want this reel. I want this combo. Well, my dad sitting there that night, my mom sitting there, and my dad sitting on the couch reading the newspaper and ESPN Sports Center's on. And for those of you who don't know my dad, I know a lot of you up here know him, but for those of you who don't know him, whenever he's got the paper in his face and Sports Center's on, that's his kind of leave me alone, kind of signal, you know, don't bother him. Well, I kind of got talking to him, and I was like, Dad, this rod and reel would be a great birthday present. He said, well, how much is it? I said, $300. He said, I ain't spending $300 on your rod and reel. He kind of gave me that look like drop it. So I kind of dropped it for a little bit. Well, I sat there, and I'd kind of hang it on every now and then. I could see Daddy's blood pressure get up there, and I could see him making the point that, you know, his veins, his head was about to fill the rim on my shirt. And when I saw that, I thought, I better simmer down a little bit. I better let Daddy calm down. So I kind of, you know, dropped the subject. And I was watching. And he was sitting there live, I was watching. And I was watching his blood pressure, and as he got down there before I thought this was at range where I could go after him. You know, I was sitting there a second, I looked over, and I said, Dad, and he kind of threw his paper down in disgust. He said, what, son, what do you want? I said, Daddy, I said, I want you to think about something. I said, I want you to think about all the money I saved you in 13 years I had to buy this shoe. He looked over at my mom, and Mom just shrugged her shoulders like, what do you say to that? Needless to say, when I said that, he reached in his pocket, he pulled out his wallet, and he handed me his card, and he said, hush, and order the rod and reel, and I don't want to hear another word out of it. We've had a lot of fun out of that, I tell you. You know, everywhere I go across the country, I've been so blessed to so many places. I've been to Canada, I've been to Mexico, I've been from coast to coast of the United States. I mean, I fished everywhere from Canada to Mexico. I've been to New York, Michigan, Florida, Texas. I've basically fished everywhere but the West Coast. I've been a lot of places, and I've been so blessed I can stand up here and talk to you for days and days and days and never tell you the same story twice. And that's just how blessed I am to know that God's given me that opportunity to go. And the number one question that I get asked probably everywhere I go, whether it's in the tournament, I drive with a co-angler where it's, and whether it's in here doing a wild game expo at a boat show or something, so many people come up to me and they say, Clay, how do you do what you do? You know, how have you gotten to where you're at? You know, I know you've had to go through some trials and tribulations and adversity and everything else. And yes, I have. You know, for basically 34 years of my life, I've had to overcome adversity every day to try to be successful, to get to live my dream and do what I love to do. You know what the number one thing that's got me to where I'm at today? The number one thing. There's been a lot of different things that have culminated together, but the number one thing that makes everything else go, that makes Clay able to do what he does, that makes my heart tick, is my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. And my faith. God, this boy wouldn't be where he's at, plain and simple. You know, when I was growing up, I was fortunate to grow up in a family and was blessed with parents and grandparents who loved me through thick and thin. You know, they loved me through all the bad decisions I made. They loved me through all the good. You know, when I was growing up, I basically tell everybody that it's like when I was growing up, I had this what I call slack in the chain. If I jerked that slack out, my mother and daddy, they disciplined. They said I knew the difference between right and wrong. Did I always do right? No, but I knew the difference. I strayed away from that path on it. There was a lot of times for about 4 or 5 years of my life that I made some very destructive decisions in my life. I had my life to the death's doorstep many a time for making destructive decisions. Decisions that I knew better than to make to start with. But only because of God's love and grace and God's love. And Him sending Jesus Christ down on the cross for each and every one of our sins. That Jesus came down to get me when I was 18 years old. And He grabbed a hold of me and He rocked my world and He got my attention. And let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. To this day, I'm glad. And I thank God every day from the bottom of my heart that He came down and He rocked my world. Let me tell you what I'm talking about. He didn't rock it in a bad way. He knew how stubborn, he knew how strong-willed, he knew how cold-hearted Clay Dyer was. He knew how stubborn I was. He knew what it took to get my attention. He knew what it took. Because he knew how determined I was to do what I wanted to do and to be successful. And God do that. And I think to this day of how Jesus Christ came into my heart and he grabbed my life and he shook me up and he said, son, if you'll follow me, I'll show you how to be a champion. If you'll just follow me. So see, when I was 18 years old, I was making a lot of these destructive decisions. One day, I woke up and I was getting ready to go to the youth revival with a young lady that night, it was Friday night. She'd asked me to go on Monday. If the truth be known, all week long, what was I thinking? Honestly, I was thinking, you know what, I got a date with a blonde, 5'6", about 130 pounds. She's gorgeous. If I play my cards right, I'll probably give up whatever I want. I'm just being brutally honest with you. That's exactly what was in my heart. I thank God that Leah, the lady that picked me up on this Friday night, I thank God that Leah was mature enough and old enough to realize she was 16, I was 19. She just got her license. I thank God that she was mature enough in her Christian walk as a 16-year-old young lady that she could realize that Clay Dyer needed Jesus Christ. And she was going to lead me to it. Because I had a lot of other things in my mind that shouldn't have been there. I had a lot of other garbage in my heart that shouldn't have been there. All week long, before we left on that night, my life seemed close to perfect as it could possibly be. The Friday morning when I woke up before the youth revival on Friday night, when I woke up to an experience I never had experienced before at that point in my life, and I hadn't since then, thank goodness. But that morning when I woke up for the first time in my life, at 19 years old, I thought I was dying of a heart attack. I had basically every symptom when I woke up that morning that you could possibly have. The only symptom I honestly didn't have was pain in the left arm. I'll let y'all figure that out. Y'all figure it out, y'all tell me. All I know is when I woke up, I started having shortness of breath, had an excruciating headache, I had body pain shooting all through my body. You know, I was sitting there thinking to myself, I'm 19 years old, I'm about to have a heart attack, what's going on here? And I couldn't figure it out. You know, I kept thinking maybe it's something I ate, maybe I had allergic reactions and all that. That was what it was. I thank God to this day that Jesus Christ used His Holy Spirit to mold me to get me to what I pay attention to. That's what I'm thankful for. So if I'd never felt that way that day, I can tell you probably where I'd be right now. I'd be dead in hell right now. So let me tell you something. My life was leading on the road, going to bust against the mill wide open. That's why I was looking. And thank God, that Friday, when I woke up feeling this way, the man in me, the flesh in me, kept saying, oh, you'll be all right. You just tough it out. You'll be fine. You know, the other part of me, the other part deep inside my heart said, buddy, you better get something done. You better get something done. This ain't no joke. This is the real deal. You better go get something done about it. When Leah picked me up that evening, long story short, I told her what I was feeling. She said, you need to go to the emergency room? I said, no, not yet. I said, let's just go over there. I said, if I need to go, I'll tell you. I get over there that night. It was an incredible night. There's a lot of people got up, giving personal testimonies, you know, different praise and worship music. I mean, it was just an incredible night. And the ironic thing is, for the end of that night, all this stuff was still going on through my body. I kept trying to do things to get it feeling better, and it just wouldn't stop. It just kept intensifying through the night. Finally, it got to the point that night, right at the end, the pastor got up, gave about a 10-minute closing devotion. At the end of that pastor's devotion that night, he had a closing prayer. I prayed to myself what the pastor was praying out loud. And whenever he said amen, I remember looking up, and we were sitting about the 4th row from the front. When I looked up, the altar was about as flooded and had about as many people as you see these young girls and boys sitting there right now. People were down at the altar, kneeling and praying. I mean, it was incredible. I never had seen anything more like it in my life before that time. Well, I stood out of my pew, and I walked down that aisle, just like you saw me walking across the stage a while ago. And when I got down there, I remember just standing there kind of in awe at what was going on. The next thing I knew, this gentleman touched me on my shoulder. I turned around and realized who he was. It startled me that he touched me because I didn't know anybody was around. But when I realized who he was, he pulled me off to the side and we got to talking. After we talked a few minutes, he said, Clay, are you okay? I looked at him and I said, yeah, I'm fine. He looked at me and he said, are you sure? I said, yeah, I'm fine. And you know what I love to say about that man, who is now a Christian brother of mine, is he could tell something wasn't just right about him. He knew something wasn't right because he knew he was. The thing about it is, he didn't come down on me and condemn me. He looked at me and he said, Clay, he said, I love you. He said, I've loved you for 19 years. He said, I've seen you since the day you were born. He said, I've watched you overcome a lot of adversity, a lot of people in this world never overcome. He said, I've watched you do a lot of remarkable things in this world that a lot of people never have a chance to do. He said, one question I've got for you. He said, if you going home tonight and something happened, what would you spend eternity? I thought about it for a second, and I said, I guess I'd go to heaven. And he looked at me and asked me the most simple, but yet the most important question I've ever had asked him. And he looked at me and he said, why did you guess you'd go to heaven? And I said, Ben, I've always believed in God, and I went to church. That's when he flipped open the Bible, the prayer of salvation. Where it says, in God's holy word, it says that the only way into heaven is believing in Jesus Christ on the cross for your sins. That you believe in that he died on that cross for your sins, believing in faith that you ask him into your heart for a personal relationship with him. That's the only way to be saved. That's the only way into God. That's the only way into heaven. I thank God that God made it so simple and so easy. But you know what? I don't understand why we as humans make it so hard. We as humans make it so difficult and so hard. And that night when Ben looked at me and he asked me that question, and I said, I guess I'd go to heaven. Let me tell you what really gets me, people. Is how many people out there to this day believe in God, they go to church, but they don't have a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. And they think they're going to get into heaven because they believe in God and they go to church. It's great to believe in God. It's great to go to church. And let me tell you something. Jesus Christ made it as easy as it could be made. Jesus Christ died on the cross, and gruesome death, paid for each and every one of our sins. None of us, nor me, myself, included, none of us deserve what Jesus did for us. But you know what? That's how much he loves you. That's how much he loves me. And I tried to think, ever since the day that I got saved, back in June of 1996, I tried to think how many times, of what it's like to have that kind of love for somebody. I know how much I love my family. I know how much I love my life, my friends. But to have love for someone that you die a gruesome death, it gives them a chance. People, let me tell you, that night, whenever Ben shared that with me, about the only way into heaven, I looked at him that night and I started shaking and trembling because I was feeling so bad. I looked at him and I said, Ben, I don't know what's going on with me. I don't know what this is. I said, I can tell you this. I said, I'm sick of it. I said, I want it out of my heart, I want it out of my life, whatever it takes. I said, I want to pray the prayer of salvation. He started praying for me, and I stopped. And I said, Ben, I want to pray the prayer of salvation. He was just trying to offer up a prayer for me to help me feel better. And I stopped him and I said, Ben, I want to pray the prayer of salvation. And people right then and there, I said a simple prayer. And I said, Lord God, I know I'm a sinner. I said, I know Jesus Christ, I'm on the cross for my sins. And I said, Jesus, I beg you to come in my heart. I beg you to come in my heart, cleanse me of all my sins, give me everlasting life, and give me a home in heaven. I'll tell you this. I've made a lot of bad decisions in my life. I've made a bunch of them. I've made a lot of good ones. You know the best one I ever made? Is when I accepted Jesus Christ and asked him in my heart. So let me tell you something. There is no other happiness. Jesus Christ is my happiness. You want to know why Clay Dyer is like he is? Because Jesus Christ is my rock. And Jesus Christ is who I go to each and every day with all my strength to fight through everything that life goes at. There's an old saying out there in life, life throws you adversity. That's just part of life. That's why God's there to hold you up. There's an old saying in life, sometimes you're the hydrant, sometimes you're the dog. Y'all know where I'm going with that? I don't like being the hydrant. Nobody likes being the hydrant. We all want to be the dogs. I like to think I got a lot of bark in my dog. And I'm going to tell you something. It don't matter what you're going through in life, what kind of adversity you may be facing. If you don't have Jesus Christ in your heart, you get it before it's too late. And I promise you, if you put Jesus Christ in your heart, there's no adversity that you can't overcome. There's nothing out there that's anything like Jesus. That's what I call my happiness. People, I can stand up here for days and days and days and tell you about all kinds of different things out there, the experiences I've been through and everything else. Let me tell you something. When I accepted Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior, you're looking at a man that's had every, some people won't say reason, some people won't say excuse, whatever you want to call it. I've had every reason in this book to lay down and give up and let people take care of me 24 hours a day. And they will. I've got a wonderful family that takes care of me 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. But that ain't the way I want it. That ain't the way I want it. I'm going to be a champion in life, and I'm going to go get it. That's where I've always been. I don't want help. You come up to me and try to help me, don't take it the wrong way if I tell you no. Because one time I thought, I'm going to tell you no. I can do anything anybody else does. And I've got every opportunity and every reason in the book I want to lay down and give up. I've got Jesus, that's all I need. I've got Jesus, that's all I need. Jesus brings me the happiness I have each and every day. And that's why when you see these pictures, when you see these videos, and you see the smile on my face when I'm out there competing. If you don't see me smiling, it's only because I'm mad at 5 pounds I'm trying to win fight in the tournament. And I got when I'm in the zone and I'm focused, I'm concentrating, I'm looking at this right here. That's what I'm trying to make a big fight so I can win. But let me tell you something about Jesus. Jesus called me to be a Christian. And forever, I didn't understand why he called me people. I'm sitting there fighting against it the whole time, thinking, you know, that he wanted me to be a missionary overseas or something, and everything else. I kept fighting against it. The whole time, Jesus kept saying, hey, the fisherman is what I want you to be. And it took me forever to realize why. Because I'll tell you, when I was fighting against it, trying to figure out what it was Jesus wanted me to be, there was a time in my life when everything seemed to be going perfect, and all of a sudden it's like I turned around and slammed into a brick wall head first. I couldn't figure out why my life was being that way or anything else. I was trying to read and study my Bible each and every night and all that. And needless to say, one night I sat down in my house. My parents were gone out of town working. I was there with my grandparents. I opened my Bible up and I just laid down and fell over. I didn't turn to any one particular page or nothing. But before I started reading, I prayed and I said, God, I know that this is not what Christian life is supposed to be about. Me being confused, me being hurt, and everything else. I said, God, if you can show me why I'm hurt, God, whatever it is, I'll correct it right now and I'll fix it. And that night, when I opened my Bible up, I happened to look at it. It was on Proverbs chapter 3. And the first thing my eyes saw when I hit the page, verse 5, which says, trust in the Lord with all your heart, lean not on your own understanding, and he'll guide you and make your path straight. I'll repeat that. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Not part of it, not some of it. But trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not on your own understanding, and he'll guide you and make your path straight. I knew as soon as I read that that scripture, I knew what had happened. I had accepted Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior, and I had a relationship with Jesus Christ. But I hadn't fully surrendered myself to God for his will for my career. And that night I prayed and I said, Lord, if you'll show me what you want me to do for my career, for your mission, God, I'll go do it right now. And people just as sure as, you know, when you're driving in the daytime and the sun or something, a bright light kind of blinds you for a minute and it puts that image of whatever that is in your mind. Or when you drive at night, you see headlights, and you look at headlights, it burns that image in your mind, in your vision. You know, when I prayed the prayer and I said, Lord, what is it you want me to do? I'll go do it tonight. You know what I saw? Someone dressed the way I'm dressed right now. That's part of the reason I wear the sponsor shirt. Now, I knew when I saw that, I said, it's one of two things. It's either a race car driver or a fisherman, because there's only two people dressed like that. I finally knew one. I was just trying to figure out how God was going to use me for a race car driver. But I know this. God doesn't make mistakes. And whenever I tried to figure that out, I said, he looks going to be a professional angler. And then, the light, what I call the idiot light at the top of my head, because sometimes I'm a brilliant idiot, the idiot light went off the top of my head, and I realized why God was calling me to be a professional angler. Because every time we're out on the tournament trail, we're going out with co-anglers and stuff, and most of the time we don't know them. We got camera people in the boat with us, and every time we're on, the weighing stage, if we get to catch one keeper fish, we get to go across the weighing stage, and we're live on the World Wide Web, we're on national television. And thank goodness I fished 2 organizations that allow me, when I go across that stage, if I want to proclaim my faith in God, they don't shut the mic off and shut me off the stage. They let me share about my Jesus that I love. I want to tell you something in closing tonight. I don't know what you may be going through in your life. I don't know what you may be facing. I hope you see the happiness that's in me. I hope you see the determination that's in me. I don't know what you may be facing in your life, but I know this. In life, you basically have 2 choices in life. You can either lay down and give up when adversity gets you. When adversity gets in your way, when obstacles get in your way and in your path, and try to knock you down and defeat you, you can lay down and give up and be defeated. Or you can go on and be a champion and live for Jesus Christ, and let Jesus Christ show you the way. And you can be a champion. I hope and I pray that you don't do the first. I hope and I pray that you do the second. That you put your heart and faith in Jesus Christ, and you're a champion, and you live life one day at a time, and you're a champion. Because I told you, I don't know what you may be facing, what you may be going through in life, but I love to think about a lot of times in my Christian walk about the Bible stories when the disciples were sitting at various fishing all night. Not because I'm a fisherman, but because whenever they see fishing all night and they hadn't caught anything, they didn't know it was Jesus was standing on the shore the whole time. The next morning, Jesus said, y'all caught any fish? They said, no, we hadn't caught nothing. Jesus said, cast your nets to the other side of the boat. They threw the net to the right side of the boat. They got so many fish in the net, they couldn't even put it in the boat. They had to drag it up on the bank. You know what that story tells me? When we get our focus off God, and we as humans get our back against the wall, and we want to use God as a 911 God, and we want to dial 911 and say, dear God, please get me out of this situation. If we'd never taken our focus off of it to start with, there wouldn't be no situation. If we do like those disciples, if we put our nets beside both that Jesus wants us to put them on, we'll be just fine. We wouldn't have to worry about dialing 911 and trying to get out of the situation. You know, there was a sign right from the church when I come into town today that I noticed, and I hope I quote this right. It says, is Jesus your steering wheel or your co-pilot? And when it said that, I thought to myself, you know, that right there says a lot. I hope Jesus is your steering wheel, because I know he's mine. And he's the best thing in the world that I could ever imagine, and the best thing I could ever ask for. In closing, if you don't know Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, I hope and I pray that you make that decision to follow after before it's too late. So let me tell you something. I always want you to remember one thing. If I can, you can. Thank y'all so much. God bless you.